What's going on, everybody? My name is Josh Washburn of Washburn Fab Co. And today I'm going to talk to you guys about starting a welding business or welding side hustle from scratch. I get asked these questions that I'm going to cover in this video all the time. I run a Facebook group with over 30,000 members that's for small business welders and fabricators, and there's a lot of new people getting into this stuff, so I just want to answer a lot of those common questions. A lot of people are getting in over their head when they're trying to start, and they're not at the point where they should be when they go to start. I know I made a few mistakes, so you guys are going to learn from some of my mistakes and hopefully do it better than I did in the start. Just some background information to cover what I do. I own a shop and do mobile work. I mainly do shop work. I've owned my business since 2019. This video is being recorded in 2024, so I've been running the business for 5 years. This is my only income, is anything that comes from this business, and it has been since 2020. A few announcements before we get started. Thank you guys for the support. I just got monetized this morning, which is awesome. Getting a little bit of cash from making these videos is going to motivate me to make more videos. I had the outline for this video sitting on my desk for about 3 weeks, and when I saw I got monetized this morning, I was like, hell yeah, let's post a new video. Also, we're giving away a Yes Welder Cut 55 DS Pro, the new model. It's pretty good. I liked it. I did a review, which I'll link down below in the description. To enter that giveaway, you need to go to the giveaway announcement video itself and drop a comment there. Give that video a like. All the comments are going to be pulled from that video only. So you must be subscribed and comment on that video. It'll be down below in the description as well. All right, let's get into it. So this is going to cover exactly what I did and maybe some tips to do things differently than what I did. So first off, if you want to start a welding business, you need to have experience welding. You can't just say, oh, I have a welder, so I'm going to do some jobs now. It doesn't really work like that if you don't have the accurate experience. There's a couple ways to go about experience depending on what route you want to go. You could go to a trade school, which in my opinion is not the most cost-effective or the best learning environment. They often make the trade schools are going to be short programs that are quite expensive to try to push people out to go get a job. I personally don't think that's the best option. You know, other people are going to say, you know, they did it and it was fine. That's fine if you want $20,000, $30,000 worth of debt. I didn't want all that debt. I went to a community college in Sacramento with a welding program. I also went for a business degree at the same time. I dropped out of the business degree during COVID, and I was already running the business to begin with, so I just ran it full bore. In my opinion, a lot of what I was taught in the business classes was common sense, things you should know, but you know, not everybody understands business like that. It just makes sense to me, I guess. It was basic information I kind of learned in high school through like business and economics classes. So it didn't really help me much. Another option for your training would be to get an apprenticeship with a union or another apprenticeship in general. This is going to take some time and you might have to work up the ladder before you get to where you're going. And in the end, you're going to mainly only have experience in that one niche, which a lot of apprenticeships are going to be like pipe welding apprenticeships. Or if it's structural, your knowledge is going to be in structural welding. So to establish what route you should go, if you haven't already done so, you're going to need to figure out what your desired jobs are that you want to do when you're on your own. And choose the correct path you think you will learn the most from going forward to help you with your business in the future. So in other words, if I want to do general fabrication like off-road accessories like I do, there's no reason for me to go to a pipe welding school, right? Or there's no reason for me to go erect steel and build structures because I didn't want to do anything like that when I did this. So if you already have experience and you're knowledgeable to some extent in a welding process, you need to make sure your fabrication skills are up to par, or else you're going to be completely lost when you start because not everything's a repair. For example, you could have welded for 20 years but worked a production job where your company set your machine because that's what some engineer said that this machine needs to run at, and you may have laid some welds for 20 years, but you don't really know how to do anything except for pull the trigger, right? So no hate to production welders, but a lot of the time it doesn't take any brain power to do the jobs. That's why they get paid so little. To get some actual fabrication experience, you might have to work a production job for a little while, and then next thing you know, come work for another small shop that's going to do more general fabrication and less production. That'll help you get a more well-rounded idea of what it's actually going to be like if you work for yourself. Those jobs are going to be kind of harder to find because they're usually small businesses, with under 10 employees, I would say. I believe that if you're starting a business, you should not just be capable of running one process. Even at minimum, if you're going to do shop only work, you need to be capable of MIG welding and TIG welding so that you can do both those sets of jobs. If you can only MIG weld, you're going to limit yourself so much. I see this all the time posted on Instagram. I look at a lot of off-road stuff because that's what I do. And I see that a lot of these off-road guys, they can lay okay welds with MIG, but you'll see some other times they'll post pictures of them learning to TIG weld or them TIG welding stuff, and you're just like, what the heck is that? Like, this is a business. You should have learned this a long time ago. I think you should be proficient in all categories, in my opinion. Especially if you're going to do mobile and shop, you at least need to have MIG down, and you either need to have flux core or stick down too. There's no getting around that. You can't go MIG weld outside every day. A little bit of wind kicks up, past about 8 miles per hour wind, and your shielding gas is gone. So you're going to have to know how to stick weld. I tried avoiding it when I started in the beginning. I knew how to stick weld when I started, but I tried to avoid it. I just didn't like it that much. And I tried MIG welding all the time outside, and eventually I got fed up with it. So I just started stick welding everything. And now I don't even think about taking the MIG machine outside. It's not worth having to set up some shade screens and, taking boxes and taping them all around you so that you can weld out something. So in other words, if it fits in the shop, it's getting MIG'd or TIG'd, and if it's out on a job somewhere or doesn't fit in the shop and it's a bigger piece of equipment, it's getting stick welded for sure. Some other options would be flux core welding, but I haven't really found a need to flux core weld. But moral of the story, you need to be well-rounded. If you're not well-rounded and you're trying to start your business, go learn how to do these other processes that you don't know how to do first. Don't try to learn them on the job when you're in a pinch and you got a day that's 30-mile-per-hour wind and you just drove out to this job and all you got's your MIG machine. You don't have any flux core wire, or if you do, you don't know how to run it, or you got stick rod but you don't really know how to run it either. So you got to be prepared for everything. If you're not prepared, you're going to fail. I'm not saying that you have to be a master and get some crazy certs in all of these categories, but you need to be proficient in these categories to where you can weld it if you need to. The one exception to only knowing one process, in my opinion, would be if you're starting some sort of production where you already have an idea of a part that's going to fit a niche and it's going to be able to be sold multiple times. When I say multiple, I mean hundreds of thousands of times, or a great amount where it's worth starting the business over. This would really only apply if you have, say, a part that you came up with that's already designed, and all you have to do is maybe cut it out on the plasma table or laser or whatever you plan on getting, and then weld it up and then send it out to paint or powder coat and then ship it or ship it raw. That's the only exception I can think of to where knowing one process will get you by. So a lot of my experience besides going to the community college was on heavy equipment through my dad's company. He owns a trucking company, and I did a lot of end dump repairs. So I did that for a while, helped out when we needed the help, and started doing it for fun on my own on some projects, and then thought, well, maybe I should just go to school and learn more about the trade and learn out these other processes because I didn't know a whole lot. I thought I did until I went to school. Once you have your experience down to where you think you're where you need to be to get started, you're definitely going to have to find a niche. Going into it blind and just doing general fabrication is going to be rough. You're not going to know how to quote a lot of these jobs because you don't do it every day. And a lot of the time, you're basically going to be learning on the job if you don't do work that's somewhat repetitive. You're not going to be doing the same job every day, but you should be sticking in a realm together. Like, for example, my realm is basically heavy equipment and off-road accessories like bumpers, sliders, tire carriers, stuff like that. I will do almost anything as long as it's not structural or, high pressured pipe or something to that effect. But my main niche is off-road accessories and heavy equipment. Just a wise word of advice to you guys, the off-road niche is very low paying compared to heavy equipment, for example. A lot of guys that do off-road projects always got a buddy that'll do it for cheaper and lower quality work. When they see you charge X amount, their buddy or someone random's willing to do it for, a quarter of that, they don't see the cost to quality ratio that everybody should see. And if they do see it, they just don't care. So each niche is going to have a value to it. Even within the niche, like heavy equipment is kind of broad. So there's different smaller niches inside of that niche. So you can dial it down to something that's higher paying within that certain area of that niche and really find out what's going to be your moneymaker or what's your desired goal. Whatever niche you come up with in the beginning is not set in stone. You can change this later on, but it will help you through the rest of this video on making decisions. Whatever niche you choose is going to be your base determining factor for what tools you need to start. While a tube bender may be a required tool for an off-road fabricator like me, it's definitely not required for somebody that plans on just doing heavy equipment. So once you have your niche, you're going to have to determine what your bare minimum tool requirements are going to be. Obviously, you're going to need all hand tools. You're going to need a welder. I don't like to say things blunt, like you should already know this, but if you don't know what tools you need to get started as the bare minimum, you're not ready to start a welding business. You should be able to figure out what you need right off the bat. Once you've acquired all the tools you need at the bare minimum, you don't need to go above and beyond to buy things that you might use once a year or once every couple months. Try to skip that process if you can, till it's something that you need to use weekly or daily, if possible. Sometimes it's not always possible, but try to avoid it as best as you can. So the next step is going to be completely dependent on what you're building or what niche you chose. You're going to need to acquire some certification, licensing, or a contractor's license depending on what state you're in and what type of work you're doing. Sometimes you don't need a contractor's license and sometimes you don't need certs. It just depends on what the actual work is. You'll have to dive deeper into that and find out your state and local regulations. I can't help you with all 50 states or all countries in the world. We do have a lot of viewers that are not even in the United States. Another big thing is you're definitely going to have liability insurance. I don't care if you're just doing like one project on the weekend while you still work a normal day job. For example, say that somebody wants you to build something and you build it and you don't have any insurance or certifications or anything like that. And next thing you know, maybe it's on a truck and it fails, it kills somebody, or it causes an accident on the highway. They can come after you. They will come after you. Someone's always out to get you, especially when you work for yourself. So don't think you can get away without having proper insurance. A great way to find insurance is to go through a broker. I've also heard there's quite a bit of good places to get insurance online. You just need to get minimum liability in the start. You don't need anything crazy. While it is expensive, it's probably $1,000 to $2,000 depending on your state. If you're a sole proprietor like myself, it's just one of those things that can't be avoided. Once you have all those steps down, you can now get to work. When you're first starting out, you definitely shouldn't quit your day job and dive deep into this, or you're going to be making a big mistake. The business and work fluctuates so much, it is unpredictable. It might be in my area like that just because it's so saturated, but expect there to be a lot of ups and downs. And until you can figure out when those ups and downs are and how to combat them, don't leave your day job. What I would do is save up about 6 months worth of personal and business expenses that you can live off of if you didn't work. At the same time, you might want it to be a year's worth, depending on how high your expenses are. You need to be really confident that your day job is hurting your wallet because you're not out doing these other jobs. And it's going to be a struggle at first, but you have to keep pushing through it, which means probably working 7 days a week for a year or two until you get it all figured out to where it's consistent work and you being at your day job is costing you way more money than you're making from being there. Doing this definitely isn't for everyone. I've definitely had my own money management mistakes. I've bought equipment way too early when I should have just waited and let some more money save up in the business account. Once you're doing work on the regular, you need to come up with a pay rate for yourself. I think I've talked about this in my pricing video. If you don't know how to price, check out my pricing video. I'll put a link in the description below as well. You should have two bank accounts. You should have your personal and your business account, and separate business credit cards if you're going to use credit cards, which I would advise against if possible. And then once you have separate accounts, you're going to have to come up with a pay rate percentage per job or per profit of job that you're paying yourself, or an hourly that you're paying yourself out of all the welding fabrication jobs you do for your business. That way you can keep your business money separate and pay yourself what you need to survive on your own personal expenses, while keeping money separate and saved in a business account will help you understand how much money you actually do have to spend. Before I got two accounts, I kind of seen big numbers in the bank and was like, oh yeah, I can get this tool or I can buy this piece of equipment. And then next thing you know, I'm like, dang, I don't have money to cover my personal expenses next month if I don't find work quick. So you got to be on your toes and keep your money all organized as best as possible. I'm going to wrap it up here. I have about 30 minutes of raw footage. I don't want to go any further. If you guys have any further questions or want my opinions on certain things, go ahead and drop me a comment on this video, and maybe I'll make a part 2 answering the commented questions. Don't forget about our giveaway. Go ahead and check that video out and get entered. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more business related videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If this video helped you out, shoot me a like and share it with a friend. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.